Morning Grinders. Welcome to the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka Blenderhead, Blender HD, if you want to follow me there on Twitter. And this is the show where we talk about DFS strategy, whether it be NFL, whether it be MLB, man, probably not. MMA, soccer, maybe. I don't know. Anything you want. It's Casual Friday, right? Casual Friday, casually looking finally at kind of more secure, more updated projections, player projections, ownership projections for NFL. We also got soccer and MMA tomorrow, if you want to talk a little bit about that, because that's what I'll be playing tomorrow. And answer your questions in the YouTube chat. As always, I see you guys in there. Give me those thumbs up. Give me the thummy thumbs. You're way in the door. I'm going to wave the thumb at you until you hit the thumbs up button. And subscribe if you're new here. How you doing, new people? Right? They're probably going to ask stupid questions, but whatever. We'll teach them. We'll teach them, and hit the notification bell to know when we go live. I'll be on the Advanced Sports Analytics show later today. That is not a live show, but it will be posted to the YouTube channel later today. We got a ton of stuff coming up. I see Edward Brown, Brett Booth, DFS Voodoo, Lee Palm, Match Coach, Con Campbell, Hog Lawrence, Daniel Hutchins, Suki Singh, who didn't get the Suki. Suki was 11 minutes late, being the first one here. Joe Mack, Real Life Pitcher, Tim Light, Card Fan, Major 101, Dan, 1312 saying it's Ignorant Friday. Oh, okay. It could be. Could be Ignorant Friday. Let's see. Hog Lawrence looking for the MMA. Oh, yeah. If you want to, well, we can quickly take a look at MMA. I think the MMA card for GPPs is very good. Tomorrow we got 14 fights. Hopefully, where we had 15. And I liked it before the Moda fight got canceled again yesterday, because he was going to be chalky, and then we're going to see Zoo being chalky. And there's ways to leverage your lineups and, for large field GPPs, but it still should be fine. Edward Brown, the Leeds versus Newcastle at 3 p.m. I don't play Soccer Showdown that often, and I'm not going to be able to play. I'm doing 3 shows today. So I'm not going to have time to make, I never have time to make the early Friday soccer lineups. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for Champions League I can, but no. So I have no idea what's going on. Feel free to sign up for RotoGrinders Premium. You'll get the soccer projections, even for EPL and UCL. So you can take a look at them. You can click on the link in the description, get $10 off your first month. Let's see. Any chance we could talk about NFL Showdown Strategy? We kind of talked about yesterday. Brett Booth. We see here, I mean, it was almost too obvious that if Antonio Gibson is like the chalk, the obvious leverage point is J.D. McKissic. Right, that almost seems too obvious. So if you played McKissic, you could have played them together even. But I brought up some results DB stuff yesterday's showdown slate. It looks like a lot of the sharp players were like under on a $7,400 tight end for Washington, and over on McKissic. Right, McKissic was 11% owned, and a lot of sharp players had a bunch of McKissic. I mean, I didn't have as much as these guys, but I had some. I went more overboard on Diami Brown, which is fine. I had a ton, of the Tyler Henneke. I was way over on that. Sure, okay, right. I had a lot more Slayton, right. Seems like sharper players were under on Slayton, but I had more Slayton. And then it depends on what you did with Saquon Barkley. Yeah, if he was 16% owned at 10,000. Like Neil Corfield, 0%. But I mean, a lot went, over. Like JK, JBC, they're just like, yeah, what happens if he plays 80% of the snaps and gets 2 touchdowns? So why the hell not? And obviously under on the defense. Washington defense was, I think I had it in like a total of 3 lineups out of 80. And then the kickers. And I had more Dustin Hopkins than Graham Gano, and Graham Gano like broke the slate. But from a showdown strategy perspective, the main thing if you're playing large field GPPs is uniqueness. That's it. That's it. Don't worry about anything else as much, right? So, like, if you weren't playing Antonio Gibson at 78% ownership, you know, play McKissick, play other. How can this game go a different way? And then also leaving money on the table. I mean, it's like you're not playing lineups that look good. Like if I could condense showdown strategy for large field GPPs into one thing, is that if you build your lineup and you like it, it's a bad lineup. And if you build your lineup and you go, I think I'm throwing money away, then it's probably a good one. Like that's just the way it is, right? Because anyone that's looking at a lineup, I'm going to play J.D. McKissick at captain with Heineke, Sterling Shepard, and Golladay without Jones. Play Graham Gano. I mean, like you look at the lineup and go, I don't get it. If you don't get the lineup, okay, then it's probably other people aren't going to get it, right? Then you may be the only one with that lineup. And I think it's much more important to be unique or more unique. You don't have to be the only one, right? We saw the winner yesterday. I think it was a 13-way tie. Yeah, 13-way tie. But look how much money. I mean, I think it was 99,000. Why are the prizes always off on results DB? I think it was 99,000, not 195,000. But we see here. So I don't mind that, right? Anything past like 50,000 on like a showdown, I don't mind. So if I could split it, if it was a 13-way tie, I would have taken this lineup. McLaurin, Jones, Heineke, Shepard, Gano, McKissick. Doesn't seem all that complicated, right? You're playing the wide receiver captain with the quarterback. You're playing a quarterback, right? Sterling Shepard. I mean, it leaves 2,100 on the table. I mean, that's the thing, right? Leaving 2,100 on the table. Let's go to the next one that came in second, leaving 1,400 on the table with a Daniel Jones stack with Sterling Shepard. I mean, like these lineups are not like not so. Here's one that leaves 1,500 on the table. The next one, 156.02, 153.05. Here leaves 500 on the table. I'm assuming this is going to be duped a ton of times, right? This is a much more duplicated lineup. Both kickers, McLaurin, Jones, Heineke, Shepard. 500 on the table. But I'm saying you leave more, look, 2,100 on the table, less duplication. It's not a nutso lineup. We have no one that's single digit owned. And it's not like it doesn't make sense. You're using a wide receiver captain and the quarterback with it. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing. This lineup makes sense, but only 13 people played it because it's a 47-9 lineup. I made a lot of lineups I had lineups that is 7,000 on the table. 45,000 total, 46, 6, you know, stuff like that. When I win, I want to win the most amount of money. It's not about coming in 732-way tie and it's a milli maker and you end up with like $2,800. Like you just destroy your EV that way. Most likely you're going to lose. We had one guy in the NFL Discord that was like, I'm horrible at Showdown. Like they just started They just started playing NFL DFS. And it's like, how many showdowns have there been so far this year? 1, 2, 3, 4? 4 showdowns. I lost all 4. And playing GPPs. I'm not talking about cash games. I'm not talking about small field stuff. I lost money in all 4 of them. It's like I told her, like, how often do you think I lose my money in showdown? So, you probably lose it. I've heard it's more times than not. It's like, well, what exactly is more times than not? More times than not, like, do I lose 55% of the time? I said, I lose like 95% of the time. Are you kidding me? 95% of the time, probably more than that. It's like, how do you, but yet I've still made over $100,000 in showdown profit. Yeah, because you win 50,000 once, you win 55,000 another time, you win 15,000 and the day. There, I've 3 showdown wins over the course of God, who knows how long I've been playing Showdown NFL? 3 years? Yeah, and all the other times I'm going to lose money. Now it depends on how much money you lose. A lot of times I'm not losing. I'm losing 30%, you know, something like that. Depends. It depends on the slate. It's like you got to play for first. I mean, this is DFS in general. This is GPP play in general. It is the biggest edge in all of DFS. It's the biggest edge in general as a concept. People building lineups not to win first. That's where a lot of the edge in DFS is. Finding the best plays ain't an edge anymore. It's not hard to find the best plays from a median perspective, right? If you're going to go into this NFL slate, like it's not hard to Najee Harris, Cooper Kupp, one of the Cowboys receivers, Al, obviously the Cowboys Chargers game. You play punt the tight end and whatever. I mean, play Prescott or whoever you could play. Oh, Chris Carson projects well. I mean, it's not that hard to play the best plays. You're not going to win first that way. You'll maybe win first with a couple of these guys, but not like in general. And people will build their lineups based on like who the best plays. And they get different. Like they'll play the million. I'll get different in one spot. It's like, that ain't enough. That ain't enough. Right? And you see tons of those lineups by the cash line. Right? Sometimes they cash, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they 4X. Ooh. That, to me, that's the dead money if you're playing GPPs. So if you're going to play something, especially Showdown, I don't even care about anything other than first. At least in some of the, like, you play the slant and you come in third place and that's $20,000. It's like, okay, that's pretty good. I aim for top 10s. In Showdown, the 10th best lineup ain't going to, well, what's the 10th best lineup? Right? Because of all the ties. Right? If you came in second place, you got $3,100. Based on this, I don't even know what the hell it was. Probably lower than that. What's the third best lineup? $1,500. The fourth best lineup, $387.88. You had the fourth place, $387.88. You got to aim for first. You got to aim for first. And the less lineups you're playing, the more that you should be aiming for first. The more you should be inclined to take on risk. When you're playing 150 lineups, you have to have some regard to like the variance of your bankroll. Right? I understand if you're playing 150 lineups and you have okay, I like this coming NFL Sunday. Like if you wanted to just X out this Cowboys Chargers game completely from your player pool and build 150 lineups, I think that would be plus EV. The thing is that there'll be a lot of slates where you're going to lose like all of your money. Like you're going to lose it all, right? Either the game goes off and you're dead, or one or two guys from that game end up, putting up ceiling scores, and you're going to need like at least one of them, right, to win. So in the cases that the game busts completely, you're in great shape, right, with all the ownership that's going to be there. The thing is that if you're playing, let's say you're playing 3 lineups, 5 lineups into a large field GPP, even a small field one, I guess, I'd be more inclined to do that. If I was playing a 3 max, like 5, if I was playing the power sweep, for instance, and that was the only thing I was doing, playing the power sweep, the $150 3 max, I'd play 3 lineups that had not no one from that game. And those were my only entries. And I had a bankroll, obviously, like I'm still only playing 2 or 3% of my bankroll, right? Like that. Why not? If that game busts, you have a great shot at winning first place with nearly God knows how many lineups. Any lineup you want, practically. When you have 150 lineups, you have 200 lineups, 300 lineups, like you're putting a lot more volume. So you're putting in $10,000 and go, I'm not going to get any return if this game goes off. Like, no, you're probably going to sprinkle, you may be under on the game, but you'll have some lineups that, because when you compare 2 lineups together, they could be fairly equal, right? They could be a lineup that, here's a lineup with no one from that game, and here's a lineup with like 1 or 2 guys from that game. And they project similarly. One's a little bit more owned. And you go, well, maybe I'll play some of these lineups that have at least 1 or 2 guys from that game. Just so if that game goes off, at least I have like, I don't lose 98% of my money. I may lose 50%, but it's not 98%. And also I still have a shot. If those lineups can still win first place. So that's why the less lineups you have, the more risky you should be. The more lineups you have, you start jamming in and go, I'm going to just X out the 10 chalkiest players and just wait for a carnage slate. Like it will happen. The question is, will you have a bankroll by the time that happens? That's the problem. Realizing the EV. Going through the YouTube chat. Feel free to post whatever you want. I'll always scroll back. So it doesn't matter. If I'm not talking about something you don't want to talk about, you want to talk about something else, that's fine. Post it in the YouTube chat. Tyler Woodfield, bought Theory of DFS today with my Tony Hawk NFT earnings. Highly recommended so far. Well, thank you. You probably flipped that. You probably flipped it. You got your $125 and you bought it, right? I talk about all this type of stuff. If you want me in your pocket, just get the Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports. It's a 15-hour audio DFS masterclass. Theoryofdfs.com. Has all the chapters. It applies to all the sports, right? You have all these chapters here. Game objectives, player selection, expected value, leverage, correlation, construction, risk management, exploit, psychology. And you can refer to it anytime. A lot of people, like, they listen to the whole thing through once. They play for a couple of weeks and then they listen to it again. They go, okay, am I doing those concepts better? Am I doing these things better? And then it starts coming to you. Then you start thinking more logically. Then you start thinking like a professional DFS player. You start, oh, now I understand what Jordan meant by like not predicting outcomes. You don't even think about it, right? You're like, what's going to happen? I don't know. All I know are probabilities. I don't know what's going to actually happen, right? You start building lineups and you go, well, who should I play? It becomes a stupid question, right? Once you get it, once it clicks, then you understand why I say there's so many stupid questions. Do I play this guy or that guy? Well, what's your lineup? What's the contest? You can play anyone you want in the context of the lineup that you're playing in the contest that you're playing. So it's lineups, not players. You get all that in this course. Con Campbell, any chance you could talk about a little cash game research using the lineup HQ? Yeah, cash game research is a button. Cash game research. What projections are you using? You could aggregate projections if you want. And essentially, you're playing the top optimal lineup or one of the top optimal lineups. Look, there you go. I press the button. This is the Gridiron IQ projections. Here's the top median scoring lineup, 153.56. And this is what it looks like. And it has double tight end. Saints defense. The Gridiron IQ, as of right now. I mean, obviously, projections may change slightly. But let's say you don't want to play this lineup. You know, I don't want to play double tight end. I don't want to do that. I don't want to play Brady. I want to play Justin Herbert. Okay, well then lock him in and then run it again. Right? So essentially it's a 1v1, right? If you want to play him instead. Or what you could also do, if you wanted, right? Set everything on default. 49.5, what, it doesn't matter. You're probably spending all your money anyway. And build 10 lineups. No stacks, no nothing. Don't worry about it, right? You're just playing median lineups, right? So here we go. Just using the Gridiron IQ. Am I using the right projection set? Is this working? Limit. Okay, I got to click that. Okay. Build. So here we go. Okay. We got Brady, Carson, Harris. This is 153.44. Why is this not coming? 153.56. It's actually a higher lineup. You can pick one of these lineups. So if you want to play this type of lineup, Brady, Carson, Harris, Chase, Cup, Lamb, Fant, Cooper. If you're not playing Higbee in this lineup, here's a Higbee lineup. Right? Herbert, Carson, Harris, Cup. And then you play double tight end with Noah Fant. Or, like, obviously, you know, these are the Gridiron IQ projections. Let's go to the Blitz. As of now, as of Friday at 11 a.m. or so. This is going to be adjustments, right? This is the last updated last night, probably for the Showdown slate. So you can run the optimal and see, okay, based on the Blitz projections, it's close. You have Adam Troutman in here in the tight end spot. Herbert, Carson, Harris, Woods. And let's say you didn't want to play. I don't want to play Woods. I don't care what it says. I don't want to play. You did remove him from the player pool. Right? Go down here. Take out Woods. Where's Woods? Where'd he go? What's his price? 5,700. Right. X him out and then run it again. Okay, what's the next line without Wood? Oh, Fournette. Oh, am I going to play Fournette in cash? I mean, this is what you could do. Go back. You can include Woods back in. Or you could do like I did before and run 10 lineups. Or you could even aggregate. You go, oh, I want to use, you know, so I pay for the Blitz projections, right? I have Gridiron IQ projections and I want to aggregate them together, half and half. You know, you could do that also and then see what comes out. or pick one of the top 5 or 10 lineups. You know, if you're like, no, there's no way I'm not going to play X guy, then lock him in. Right? If you're just like, no, I'm not playing Brady in cash. I want to play Dak Prescott in cash. Well, then lock him in. That's fine. See what the best median lineup from that point is. I'm definitely playing Prescott and Cup and Lamb and Najee Harris. Okay, then lock those guys in and run it. For cash games, I don't see why you would be spending more than about 60 seconds on your cash line at all. I do my cash lineup like 5 minutes before lock. Right? Or once all the inactives are in or whatever. Right? The updates are in 12:15, something like that. And I go, okay, let me choose between like the top 5, 10 lineups. Oh, this, I know people are going to play that guy. Okay, I want to block that. And then there you go. Or if you don't even want to, if you want to take it all the choice out, just aggregate whatever projection sets you have. And whatever the top optimal is, just that's what it is. Doesn't matter. Double tight end, who cares? Right? If you trust your projection model, then the top median optimal is going to be over 1 million slates, going to be the highest EV. But obviously the next 9 are going to be extremely close, right? The difference of the first one and the second one is like, I mean, like, let's take a look here, right? 153.44, 153.33, 0.11 difference in median, right? The next one is a 0.31, 0.21, right? I mean, it's like you're not even getting to a half a point. It's a quarter of a point, quarter of a point, right? The top 10 lineups, the difference is like less than half of a point. They're all good. Feel free to choose the one that you like the best, right? Whichever one. Put it into random.org. Go, I'm going to run 10 lineups, and then I'm going to go to random.org, right? I'm going to go there. I'm going to allow all the whatever. You're going to go true. Okay, you're going to do 1 to 10. And you go, okay, so I got my 10 lineups, right? Where are my 10 lineups? Okay, here's my 10 lineups, the top 10. I'm going to go, okay, what am I playing in cash? 9. There you go. And play the 9th one. You could, if you wanted to do that, if you want to take it's like, okay, I don't have to, I'm not going to introduce my own bias and make a choice. I'm just going to play one of the top 10 lineups, and there you go. And obviously, once the slate starts, and then you could late swap later and go, oh, I didn't get this guy right, and I got to make up ground, or I want to block, right? Oh, the guy that's only 12% in cash that I have put up 35 points, so now I don't have CeeDee Lamb in this roster, and he's going to be 47% owned. So now I'm going to swap to block people with CeeDee Lamb. Like, you could do stuff like that after lock. But if you trust your projections, the difference in like the top 10, top 20 lineups, top 50 lineups even, is not all that drastic. So if you wanted to randomly select one, that's perfectly fine as well. Let's see. Initial thoughts on tomorrow's EPL slate. I'll mention soccer a little bit. If you had to guess right now, he'll be the highest owned player of the week. It's going to be Najee Harris. You could look at the ownership projections. What do we have to worry about it now? Just look on it. Joe Marino, do you ever look at correlations amongst players on the same team on ASA when making player groups? No. Because I'm building certain constructions. I'm building 2+1s, 3+1s, 3+0s. I'm using groups just to make sure I get combinations that I want. It has nothing to do with the actual correlation between 0.2 versus 0.17. I really don't care. It's very small sample sizes. And it depends on also the price of the guys. Like, Julio Jones and AJ Brown. Like, guys that once we get into the receivers that are above 6,000, above 7,000, you're playing them together. Like, it's hard. It's in large field. It's hard to get ceilings out of both of them. You wouldn't have rather have another guy. So maybe you're splitting them out. But I'm not looking at the actual 0.14 positive correlation. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm using the groups to build lineups, not maximize on correlation. Matthew P says Fournette might be the worst cash running back on the slate. Well, the blitz has him pretty high. Michael Dompier, I just started using the blitz. If you have time and you think it is worth the time, can you talk about deflated versus agnostic for the defense projections? Yes, it's explained on the blitz page. There's multiple blitz. I asked for this is what I asked for like 2 years ago. These are mostly for like if you want to. Like the problem is here, even the gridiron IQ projections. So let's go to the blitz projections and look at defense. Just in general, this is more conceptual. It has nothing to do with the blitz. Defense is the most variant position there is in football for DFS purposes. Good luck predicting the defensive touchdowns and special team stuff. So if we look at a point per dollar value perspective, the Jets are going to be like number 1, Browns number 2. Like the optimizer is going to, because they have a projection, it's going to jam. It's going to start jamming in defenses that have a high point per dollar value. It's trying to get you the most amount of median fantasy points into your lineup. But since defense is so variant, I almost don't even care who's in the defensive slot in my GPP lineups. So do I want all the Jets there? Do I want to have to worry about capping these things so I can get a more diverse set? Or what I could do is I could go to defense deflated, which means it'll narrow out the defenses, the projections on the defenses. It'll still make the top point per dollar defenses the highest. So we see here, the Jets are still the highest, but look, the point, but like the range of outcomes between all the defenses are very small or smaller. They're deflated. So if you still wanted to take into account defensive projections, but didn't want to have that drastic of an effect on your 150 lineup build, 20 lineup build, whatever, you'd use defense deflated. So it's all the other projections for all the other players are the same, just that the defenses are, instead of one being 8 and the other being 4, now it's like, one being 5 and one being 7, like kind of condensing more. And then if you use the agnostic ones, that means all of the defenses have the same point per dollar value. All of them do. So we'll look here, point per dollar value, right? No, that's not defense. Right, look, all the point per dollar value is 2.5. These aren't the actual projections, but like the Rams are 4,500. They're going to give you 11.25 points, right? It's all the same point per dollar value. So when you run, basically, it means that whatever lineup you run, it's essentially not taking defense. Defense is like the last, it just gets thrown in, right? Because they're all, the matter for a point per dollar value is all going to be the same. So if you wanted to use defense agnostic, most likely, depending on the players that you're playing in the rest of your lineups, it's going to give you, like, it just naturally will give you a diversified set of defenses because they're all the same. They basically, it says they're all the same. Put in whoever you want at that point. So that's the only difference. The true actual projections are the blitz projections, but for the usage of optimizers, for the usage of like, oh, I want to build a cash lineup and I don't care who I'm playing at defense. Like, yeah, then use the agnostic ones and go, look, what does it matter? And then you're playing something like you have the Cowboys defense there, right? You have Kupp, Cooper, Woods, Harris, Carson, Troutman, Allen, Cooper. I mean, whatever. You know, do I want to play the Cowboys defense? Well, I mean, if you don't care about defense, there's the lineup, right? Something like that. So that's the difference between the 3 projection sets. And it's explained on the Blitz the page on RotoGrinders. Let's see. Real King says, time for my weekly reminder. We are playing lineups, not players. Would you mind saying it for the people in the back of the room, please? Okay, for the people in the back, we're playing lineups. We're playing lineups, not players. Let's see. Soccer, if people wanted to talk about soccer this weekend. Soccer is, yeah, we got basically Liverpool and Man City are humongous favorites at home, right? Minus 485 against Crystal Palace, minus 386 against 636 against Southampton. And then we got, Arsenal away to Burnley. And we got Norwich at home to Watford. So basically, like from a goal perspective, it's going to be mostly Liverpool and Man City. The problem is that the There may be a lot of rotation. Both these teams played on Wednesday in the Champions League. So I don't know who's going to start. We may not get Robertson. You may get Semikis. You may get Nico Williams instead of Trent Alexander-Arnold. We don't know if Kevin De Bruyne's going to play. Again, Jack Grealish has been starting every game. Maybe he gets a rest. Like it's tough. But for GPPs, okay, understand the difference between floor and ceiling in soccer. These projections are very goal dependent. Okay. Guys that take set pieces and cross the ball and take shots and are more active are more likely to get, like Trent Alexander-Arnold gets to his median without a goal or an assist. Kevin De Bruyne could get there without a goal or an assist. Grealish without a goal or an assist. Even Pepe, if he's going to take a monopoly of set pieces for Arsenal, like he could get to 13. A goal is 12 points, right? You get 10 points for the goal, 1 point for the shot, 1 point for the shot on goal. Okay. But guys that are like in the, like Jota's not getting to 14.93 without at least an assist, right? He's the center forward. He's going to touch the ball the least, and he's going to be closest to goal. Maybe in a game where he doesn't score or doesn't assist, he has 4 shots, 2 on target, 1 foul drawn, right? 7 points, probably a foul as well. So 6.5, right? So like this means like he's not getting 14.93. He's getting 14.93 if he hasn't a goal or an assist. But guys that have like we take a look at Milos Rashica, 10.52 for Norwich. Well, he's going to be on at least half the set piece, corners, free kicks. He's 5,100. If he doesn't score a goal, he could still get to 10.5. He could outscore Yoda. Yoda has a much higher chance of scoring a goal. But Rashica has much more of a chance of, he has 9 crosses, 1 shot, 3 chances created. Like he has a whole bunch of stuff, peripherals. He plays for one of the worst teams, Norwich, right? But that's what you have to consider in soccer. So when you're playing like cash games, or at least the staples of your lineup, you're thinking more about these types of guys. Guys that could get you double digits even without a goal or an assist. And if they do get a goal or an assist, now they have 20, 30 points, right? And then for GPP, you're looking for goals. Now, obviously, like Mohamed Salah, if assuming he starts for Liverpool, has the highest anytime goal scoring odds on the slate, -200. Okay, he's also going to be popular, but he's 10-8. 1 goal. If he gets 16 points at 10-8, you could probably find 16 points elsewhere on the slate. Now, if he gets 30 points, well, then you're going to need him. Right, then you're going to need him. So a lot of times in GPP, the key thing is to look for your set piece takers, your underpriced set piece takers, whatever, active players, and then can you find cheap goals? Okay, can we find cheap goals? And you could look at like a sports book and see the anytime goal scoring odds if you want. But on this slate, this coming up, from a anytime goal scoring perspective, like someone like Timo Pukki for Norwich, 5,600. I think his anytime goal scoring odds is like +175. So that's a cheap goal because, like, yeah, he's not going to get 9 points. He's either going to get like 3 points or like 15 points. Okay, but if you could get the 15 for 5.6K, now you're in much better shape. So Ashley Barnes for Burnley, if he starts, 4,900. I think his anytime goal scoring odds is +220. Right? 4,900. Can I get a cheap goal? Can I get a goal? If Salah scores a goal at 10-8, can I find a goal at substantially lower price than that? Obviously, like Jota at 8,300. Obviously, Aubameyang at 7,700. Yeah, but they're not that much cheaper. Torres or Jesus, like anyone that's like 7K or above. Sarr, Raheem Sterling. I mean, yeah, there are goals here, right? But a lot of times I'm like, can I find one guy that could just score a goal, most likely be under 10% owned in GPP, that have a big step up on the field, especially since you need to fill 2 forward spots. And then you pair people together. You go, oh, if this guy scores a goal, what is more likely to happen? Right? If Pukki scores a goal, let's say we play Pukki in our lineup. Well, who would assist Pukki? Probably a fullback or a wide Cantwell or Rajishka or one of the fullbacks. So maybe we play Rashishka with him, right? So like Rashishka and Pookie. And we say if Norwich wins, maybe they also have a clean sheet, right? So we play Kurl, and then we also play a fullback that could have assisted on the Pookie goal as well as get a clean sheet. So like Max Aarons or Williams, Brandon Williams, who projects better? Aarons by a little, but I mean, they're both kind of the 1.67, 1.5. Yeah, play Max Aarons. So there you go. Now you got your Norwich kind of like, which is going to be contrarian. I can tell you that. But now look how much salary you got left. Right now you could go in and now you go, I'm going to play Robertson. Right. I'll play the Liverpool. Liverpool's going to, score Robertson to Yota here because he's midfield and forward eligible. So you're kind of pairing that up. Still $7,600 left. And then you go, then maybe get some floor. Maybe you play Trent Alexander-Arnold also. Now you have a $6,200 midfielder left. Who's 6,200? Who can we play? Thiago is quite expensive for. I don't know if you play Thiago, but you can, I guess. Right, because you got to play a third team also. You can't just play two teams in your lineup. Let's say instead of Lyoto, you play Salah. Let's say it's like, okay, I could play a chalky Salah because of whatever. And they have 3,700 left. Oh, I left out all the midfielders. That's why. 30. Let's put Yoda back. Where's Yoda? Yoda. Right, because you got the pairing Robertson, Alexander-Arnold, Yoda. 6,200. Is there anyone at 6,200? It's playable. Ashley Westwood, I guess. Doesn't have much of a ceiling, but he will take set pieces for Burnley. So maybe you play something like that. This would be very contrarian tomorrow. So that's kind of how you would build GPP lineups for DraftKings. And you have no Man City exposure here at all. And since you have no Man City exposure, maybe you play the goalkeeper against them, right? It's a 0-0 game. Or you could do something like this, but this is kind of how you would build GPP lineups in soccer. Do you play 5 guys from the same team? Not necessarily. I mean, yeah. Can we play a Salah, Mane, Jota? Yeah, you're gonna run out of salary at some point. Or Man City. I'm gonna play Sterling and De Bruyne and Mahrez if he's in, and like you're gonna run out of salary. And then punt 2 $2,500 defenders. That's typically not that great of a build. Unless the defenders somehow score a goal. But in cash games, you're thinking more about when you're playing cash games by default. I'm not saying you go fully in this direction. Think about if every game was 0-0, what would the best lineup be? Right? If there's no goals that get scored, obviously Salah doesn't get there. But it could be that Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robertson get there. Set pieces and crosses. They're both sitting there with 16 points each. You go, okay, they could get there. You look at Kevin De Bruyne maybe or Jack Grealish. He could get there. They could get there on set pieces and shots and everything else. You look at Arsenal, Nicolas Pepe. Well, he takes all their corners. Well, he could get there. You take a look at Watford and Norwich. You go Rajishka. You go, Emmanuel Dennis or someone like that. Maybe some of the fullbacks. Okay, they could get there, even without a goal or an assist. And you're kind of playing those types of players. As default. You can't get them all in. You may want some goal scoring upside. Maybe you do play Mohamed Salah in cash games. You could. It's a little bit more higher variance, but you have a higher ceiling. That would be the difference between cash games and GPPs in DraftKings soccer. If you're playing on FanDuel, it's a completely different scoring system. So ignore everything of what I've said. Let's see. Go through MMA, please. Okay, well, we'll do MMA. Tony Rupa says, are you religious? Sort of. I'm blitz agnostic. I put whatever defense I want and pray to my football god in the sky and hope it goes crazy. Sure. Jesse Atfield, what's your process for determining what slates you play? day to day, week to week, month to month? Do you and your partner sit down with the slates and predetermine when you'll be at work? No, I don't do that. I'm always at work, right? DFS comes before everything else. That's what happens when you take your significant other to Hawaii and you buy your stuff, right? Get a new car, like some stuff like that. Then it's like, oh, it's time for lineups. Like, okay, lineup time is my time, right? I play whatever slates I'm available to play. My number one thing is that I have to be like 100% all in. I don't play like sometimes it's like, oh, I may be out. I may be, maybe then it's I don't play it, right? If I'm all in. So like I could have played Europa League soccer yesterday, but I wasn't going to be all in. I was going to be doing something else. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be available I'll be available at 2:00, but not like, and then I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. Right. So like MLB, like I'm not in MLB mode. Can I show up a half an hour before tonight's slate and make competitive plus EV MLB lineups? Yes. But I don't know what's been going on in the past 2 weeks. Who's good? Who's this guy in this lineup? I'd rather either be all in or not be all in. So even when I do shows, when I do the Monday and Thursday showdown shows for NFL, I play less volume because I have to do it before. I have to do it, 6:50. I have to make my lineups. And then like during the show, if anything happens or any type of consideration, I can't do anything. So I'm going to be playing less volume. But Sunday night, I may be playing more because I'm not doing the show. Right. So to me, that's how I determine what slates am I going to play. Am I going heavy on like last week? I was playing like massive multi-entry on like DK and FanDuel because it was all these contests and all the millies and all the stuff. And I can't do everything all at once. It was a pain in the ass last week. So this week coming up, I'm just going to be playing a cash lineup on FanDuel. I'm just going to be playing small field single entry lineups on DraftKings and a cash lineup also, and kind of scale that down and see, can I do that better than try to do a million things at once? To me, that's how I view it. But because I'm not doing MME on Sunday, maybe I may do the after, maybe then I play the afternoon only slate, as opposed to, the week before I didn't, right? Because I don't have 150 lineups to late swap, or to go through and go, how do I get this one? Do I go this? Because that takes a long time. And you could screw it up, right? So like, since I'm not doing that now, okay, maybe I play a single entry 3 max lineups in the afternoon only slate. Maybe I do that. I have time to dedicate to it. So that's how I decide. Okay. Psych M87. I know most of the time you want correlation, but highest projecting teams like Tampa, instead of running back with Falcons, run back using other high team total like Charge. Okay, these maybe someone needs to take a grammar class. I don't know. It seems like a lot of nouns and not enough prepositions and to conjoin all of them. No correlation, and we got the 3 levels. Okay, you always have to think of things like levels: projection, correlation, leverage. Okay, it's not one or the other. It's a balance of the 3. So it's like, oh, I want to play correlate. I want to play a lineup that's 3+1 with a secondary correlate. Like maybe the correlation isn't worth it, right? How many points are you giving up for the sake of the correlation? If you believe it's too much, then don't play it, right? So like you're mentioning something like the highest, like if you play the Cowboys and the Chargers, and then you want to play a secondary from Tampa, I want to play Godwin plus Ridley or something like that. Well, maybe you don't. Maybe there's there are other players that are project higher that you'd rather play. Like for instance, in this Raiders Steelers game, for instance, like Najee Harris projects well, but not like everyone else in the game is not. It doesn't. I mean, they're not bad. But we take a look at this flex, right? I mean, it's like Najee Harris, and then like kind of like, meh. I mean, they're not going to be owned, but like Deontay Johnson, 2.34 point per dollar. He projects meh. 6,400. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb's going to be more owned in that range. 6.2% owned. So go, well, why don't I play, or Waller or Edwards or Ruggs or any, like, oh, if I play Najee Harris, I have to play Darren Waller. It's like, do you have to? Other tight ends may project better. It may be fine to just play Najee Harris in a line. You don't need the correlation to the other side of the game. Or in non-Najee Harris lineups, I'm going to play Deontay Johnson for leverage, which you can. But obviously, you're going to be giving up projection for doing so. Look, you're spending almost the same amount of money, 6,400 versus 6,300, obviously a different position. You're giving up like 5.5 points in projection, which means the rest of your lineup, you're going to be more likely to put in projection and not worry as much about correlation or leverage, right? Those levers. So it's not one or the other. It's not like you must correlate or you must find leverage. No, it's a mix of all three. Is this correlation worth the lower projection that you're getting? Is this leverage worth the lower projection that you're getting? The projection is 50 points lower. Yeah, they're probably not worth it. They can't be that correlated, right? You probably can't make up 50 points in relative value. So that isn't worth the leverage. But there's going to be a point. What that point is, I don't know. You could run simulations and see and come closer where you can guess. I tend to guess pretty well, right? Okay, are we going to talk about MMA now? MMA, whatever. MMA. We're going to talk MMA. I got my MMA stuff. Just on the RG stuff, which the ownership that we have on RG is not right. Because we still have, I believe Nicholas Moda is still in. Right? I think if I change the hide on projected, it'll still, okay, no. Or did we update? We removed, I have no idea. But Moda was like 50% owned. So obviously that's going to affect the projected ownership on RG. So are we going to change this? No, it looks as Joaquin Buckley is 34. Anthony Smith is 37. I don't know if that's updated. Anthony Smith is third now. Yeah. So this is what we have currently. And and we also don't have an inside the distance in round one line for Zoo, the Zoo Jenkins fight, because Jenkins is a last minute replacement. But Zoo is going to be the chalkiest guy on the slate because he was the underdog in the original fight. And now he's going to be the massive favorite in the new fight. And DraftKings doesn't change their price. So he's going to be a minus 315 favorite at 7,600. So obviously, the best leverage play on the entire slate is Brandon Jenkins at 6,700. I'm assuming so. I'm assuming once we get these numbers in, he's going to be 7% owned and Zoo is going to be 56% owned. Yeah, it doesn't mean I don't play Zoo. I'm just saying that you're not getting any, when you put Zoo into your lineup, you're going to have to get different elsewhere. The main event isn't that bad, but if we take a look, like, to me, the fight that most interests me is the Kasanganay Arroyo fight, right? It's Kasanganay and Harris are fighting. No, yeah, the two fights are the Harris, Kasanganay, and the Buckley Arroyo fights. Okay, I think they're the under-owned fights. Now, Kasanganay comes up really well here because if he's only going to be 7% owned, he is like out of all the favorites outside of these two women. 390 inside the distance is pretty bad. For 8,900, he's only a minus 117 favorite. He's going to be the lowest owned favorite, I believe, on the entire slate. But he still has a 20% chance of winning inside the distance. He still has a 12% chance of winning inside round one, right? So if he's only be 7% owned, he's going to show up with a massive amount of leverage because people are going to play Kudalaba or Smith or Nchukwi even, right? They're play, someone up here. They're going to try to jam in stars and scrubs. So no one's going to play him. I mean, he's going to be 7, maybe even too high. And a lot of people are going to play his opponent, Carlston Harris, outside of the main event, Span, and obviously Zoo, who's technically a favorite, even though he's priced as an underdog. Carlston Harris is going to be the most owned non-main event underdog. And he fights Kasanganay. So that's a leverage spot. Because that's all this sheet is doing, is just identifying leverage. And then I use these numbers to make my lineups. So I know if I have enough leverage, right? Like that type of thing. Doesn't say that that's the best play. From an EV perspective, it is the best play because he's gonna score over 100 points more often than 7%. That's all this is saying. Doesn't say it's gonna happen. Just say if he's gonna be 7% owned, he's gonna put up 100 points more often than 7% of the time. But not like that much more often, but still often enough. And then the Arroyo Buckley fight I just think is under-owned in general. Minus 105 inside the distance. If he's going to be 34% owned, he's okay. He's up here, but the Arroyo down here, Arroyo currently has a plus 270 inside the distance, which is one of the best out of the underdogs. Not as good as Harris. But if he's going to be 10% owned with plus 270 inside the distance at 6,900, especially if people are going to be playing Harris as their low price kind of guy, like Buckley, and if Buckley's going to be 34% owned, I mean, that's pretty good leverage. So like Arroyo, he may be my most owned underdog. Then according to this ownership, if JP buys is going to be he'll be the lowest owned fighter on the entire slate against one of the highest owned fighters on the entire slate. Montel Jackson versus JP buys. So he comes up as a lot of leverage, but I mean, he's horrible. But still, based on the round one odds, he's going to win in the first round based on these odds, 6% of the time. But he's going to be 3% down. So that's all that, remember, that's all this is saying. Comparing the likelihood of scoring 100 plus points versus their ownership. That's it. That's all this is doing. Then now I have the numbers to build my lineups properly. So I could still play Montel Jackson in lineups, but because he's only 0.91 here, I got to find to make that up. He's probably going to be in lineups that have Arroyo in it, right? To make it up on the other side, right? I can still play Carlston Harris, even though he's comes in as one of the lowest, rated underdogs because of his ownership. But I would have to probably play, I would probably have to play Sarukian or, some and Bandy Bohm, right, in that lineup to make up for the lack of leverage. And this is obviously without knowing what Zoo and Jenkins, like these ratings 0.02 and it's only because these fields aren't filled in. The line, if you go to best fight odds, I'll refresh this again. No book has an ITD around one line for them yet. 5, right, there's nothing. Right, minus 300, 240, but no other, there's nothing. Under 2.5 rounds, minus 130. So it should be fairly high for wrong, but I don't know yet. So I won't have a rating until I know exactly what that is. Let's see. Micro Stakes Poker Challenge, which is really, who are your parents? Really bad name. Still trying to understand the rating calculation you have. All it is I'm weighting each of these numbers and this projection against this ownership and getting a number where one is in the middle. That's all I care about. As long as one is in the middle, and depending on the slate, I change these weightings. Okay? The bigger the slate, the more I care about round one. The smaller the slate, the more I care about winning. Okay? So that's all that is. It's weighing each of these. I'm not going to tell you the exact weights because I don't want to give you the exact number. Once you have the exact number, then you're going to end up building the same lineups as me. And the whole point of MMA is to be more unique. So I can't give you the exact weightings, but I am weighting these. But the general concept is on a smaller slate, like a lot of times people are like, oh, can I get a Devin Clark win? Right? Can I get a win out of him? Can I get Devin Clark to get 65 points in a win, which is fine at 7,200. That made value. Now on a 9-fight card, 10-fight card, that may be fine. There's only so many fights. There's 10 fights. There's only 10 chances of having an early finish, which typically scores fairly well, pretty well. We have 14 fights on the slate. So even though Carlston Harris could make value with 6,500 or something in a win, or one of these guys, he may not be in the optimal lineup, right? Because they out of 14 fights, if there's 6 finishes, the finishes are going to be in the line, especially if they're underdog finishes. So if Arroyo comes out and puts up 118 points finishing in the first round. Like, none of these other underdogs are going to matter anymore. Getting 65 ain't going to matter. And since there are more available to do so, you should care more about winning early, let alone not caring about who's going to win. I don't care about winning. I care about winning first in a GPP that's large field. So this is all geared towards large field GPPs. So yeah, Impa Kasanganai has one of the lowest shots of winning inside the distance amongst all the favorites. But if he's only going to be 7% owned, how often do I need? He could show up, knock out, and have a quick win with 118 points. It's not going to happen that often, but when it happens, I make a lot of money because his opponent is owned and he's only 7% based on this. Does that mean I'm jamming him into 80% of my lineups? No, of course not. But that's why this win, like obviously 7.7 win leverage, because he's still a 54% shot at winning, is high. But I mean, this ITD in round one is also. That's why I say for JP buys. Like, the only reason he's rated 1.14 is because he's 3% owned. If we move his ownership up to 6, he's horrible, right? Look at that difference. 3%. Oh, positive. 6%, garbage, right? 5%, still not bad, not great. 4%, average. 3%. Okay, now he's getting a deposit. Only because look at the round one. For 6%, 94% of the time he doesn't get it done, right? But if he's going to be 3% owned, I'll probably have more than 3% of it. But you tell me he's 9% owned, and I may X him out of my whole pool. I never X anyone out. He may be in 1 or 2 lineups, right? So that's how small the differences are here, right? That's why like the zoo ownership is going to matter versus his ITD. If he's going to be 56% owned, I can't see him be like, let's say he was a minus 110 and a 250 round one, right? Even that, which is high, which is very similar to guys up here. Let's say it was similar to Montel Jordan, minus 140, 180. Let's just say minus 140, I don't think he's going to be this high. Like, he rates out as meh. In comparison to some guys in his range, he's not that bad at 56% owned. Now, let's say he's only going to be 20% owned. He'd be the best play on the entire slate. I'd be jamming him in if he's only going to be 20% owned, but he's not. Let's say he's 40% owned with those. Now he's okay. Now he's 1.03. Now he's okay. Closer to efficiently owned, right? If he was, let's say, 42%. Like that one range is kind of like the efficiency line, right? So if he was 41% owned, like there. If he was minus 315 to win, minus 140 inside the distance, and plus 180 in round one and 41% owned, he would be efficiently owned, essentially. That's essentially what I'm saying based on this. But he's not going to be. I mean, he's going to be 56% owned, and he's probably going to be like something like 150 and 275 or like something like that. I don't know when the lines come out. Even though he's a great shot at winning, even though, but he's going to be drastically overowned. Does that mean he can't go out and put up 100 plus points? Of course he can, but not enough to warrant 56% ownership. If obviously if these inside the distance in round one are those, and he's 56% owned, the numbers have to be right. So that's all this is saying. So this allows me to now build lineups that have appropriate amount of leverage. But essentially what I want, there's 6 fighters in a lineup, and I want a lineup that is over 6 total in total rating. So that's how I do it. And I weight them appropriately. On the last card, when there were only 9 fights, the weight on the win was much higher, and the weight on the round one was much lower. So I didn't need to prioritize round one wins because with only 9 fights, they may not be any round one wins, but it's less likely because there's less fights. So getting wins, just getting 6 wins, there's only going to be 9 winners because there's only 9 fights. So getting 6 out of the 9 winners in your lineup is most likely going to be good. Is most likely you have a shot at first place. So that's why in the smaller cards I weight win more, and on the bigger cards I rate round one more, or inside the distance, closer. So That's all this does. You can do this manually, right? You can just look and go, what's the inside the distance? What are they owned? Oh, it's higher then, right? You convert the American odds into an implied probability, and there you go. And compare the two numbers. That's it. It's not complicated. This ain't advanced math. Okay. You're just trying to be directionally accurate. Not perfect. You're not perfect. These ratings aren't perfect. I'm not saying that, at that thing, I look here and go look, 0.99, Erin Blanchfield. She's going to be 24% owned. I'm saying that that's efficient. You could use her, you could not use her. It's fine. Not necessarily. I'd say at 24%, that sounds like about around efficient ownership. Around. Right? Montel Jackson, 0.91. I'd probably his efficient ownership is 48%. Which is still high, which is still like, he's overowned. Maybe he's not overowned at 48%. Am I going to be exactly right? No. But someone like Nerdy Tenor in the chat, he's going to run all that, and he's going to try to figure out exactly the exact amount. I'm going to guess over a long sample size that me and Nerdy Tenor will be much more closer to each other. He may be slightly more precise, but I think directionally we'll be closer more often than not. Kai Roach, do you think you could leave more salary than usual on the table because there are more fights? No, not necessarily. I don't care. I don't necessarily care about the salary. There's more combos. So obviously there are more lineups that could use 49.9 or above. So they're not going to be as duplicated as they would be if there were only 10 fights. But any of these underdogs, if underdogs win and they win big, a lineup with leaving 2,000 on the table could be the optimal winning GPP lineup. It could be. But typically, the more fights there are in the slate, the more combinations there are. You leave money on the table on small cards because of duplication, not because it's optimal from a projection or a leverage standpoint. Just that there aren't as many combinations. And most people, a big portion of the field, will feel tempted to spend most of their salary. So on a 9-fight card, a lot of times I'm not building lineups that use anywhere close to the amount of salary. I'm spending 47 to 49 or something because I want to get unique. But on a 14-fight card, there may be lineups that are 49.7 that are unique. There may be lineups at 49.4 that are unique. There may be a 50K lineup that's unique. Imagine playing Buys at 3% and Jenkins at 7% and Alpar at 5% and then jamming in whatever the rest is. That may be a unique line. It may be 50K and they still be unique because you're playing 3 single-digit owned fighters in the lineup, right? So, I don't feel the need to I'm gonna make sure all my lineups leave 1,000 on the table. No, it's gonna be whatever it is. Once I make this rating, I don't necessarily care about the salaries. It's gonna do it for me, right? If I have a lineup with all these underowned players, the underowned single-digit type of thing, then who cares if I use all the salary? I know I'm going to be more likely to be unique. And yes, I almost said Montel Jordan. This is how we do it, right? This is how we do it, but this is how we do it. This is how we do it. And you know what you could do to do it? Hit that thumbs up button. Give me some of those thummy thumbs. This is how we do it. Thummy up. Subscribe if you're new here. Hit the notification bell to know when we go live. We got plenty of shows today, tomorrow, Sunday morning. So we'd love to see you there. I'll be back on for the Advanced Sports Analytics show that'll be posted on YouTube, as well as on the Daily Fantasy Football RotoGrinders podcast feed. So feel free to subscribe there, wherever you get your podcasts. And like I said before, if you want to learn some of these concepts that I'm talking about, this isn't complicated math. You don't need to know. You don't have to be a math whiz to get this stuff. It's just kind of simple logic, common sense. That's what game theory is. You don't have to build computer simulations or anything. You could be as directionally accurate as more of the field. By just understanding how to think like a professional DFS player, utilizing game theory. 15-hour audio DFS masterclass from me and James McCool. theoryofdfs.com. And we'll see what goes on for this Sunday slate for NFL. And I'll be back on Monday with James, and we'll be reviewing that and answering your DFS strategy questions, as I always do, Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock Eastern, on the DFS pregame show on RotoGrinders.com.